Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a seriously fascinating journey into the absolute mechanics of human communication. We're not just going to look at the words people say. We're going to decode what people are actually doing when they say them. It's like a giant puzzle. And by the end of this, you're going to be fully equipped with the exact insights you need to absolutely ace your comprehensive English course. So let's get started.
Take a second and really think about this. What are people trying to do when they speak? So often, we think of learning a language as just memorizing this giant, static list of grammar rules and vocabulary words. But language isn't a static list at all. It's a dynamic action. Every single time you open your mouth, you have a purpose. You're trying to accomplish something real in the world.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to move beyond grammar rules, figure out what language functions actually are, and look at how context changes form. Then we'll run through the main categories of functions, do some spotting drills in conversation, and finally, get you prepared for that final exam. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Beyond Grammar Rules. Moving right along to Section 2. What are language functions?
To truly master a language, you have to understand functions. A language function, put very simply, is something you want to do with language. It's the underlying engine driving your speech. Sure, the primary function of language is to give factual information, but it's also there to convey essential commands, express your deep feelings, or share your emotions. Literally every utterance has a mission.
Look at how these basic everyday utterances map directly to an underlying purpose. If someone asks, "Where's the suitcase?" the function is obviously to get information. But if a person says, "Open the window," the function isn't just about glass and frames, right? The purpose is to make someone do something. And if someone says, "I'll pay you next week," they're using language to perform the action of making a promise. We do this all day long without even realizing it. Which brings us to Section 3, how context changes form. And this brilliantly illustrates how things shift in the real world. Once you decide on a function, let's say disagreeing, you have to choose the form. And that relies heavily on context. The form is the specific grammatical structure, the vocab, the tone. If you're talking to a good friend, you might just blurt out, "Shut up, it's not true." But if it's your boss, the function is identical. You're still disagreeing, but the form shifts dramatically. You might say, "Excuse me, sir, you may not be quite right there." Who you're speaking to completely dictates the language you use.
All right, Section 4. Main categories of functions.
While there are countless specific variations out there, native speakers universally rely on a core set of categories. Just think about the incredible breadth of actions we perform with nothing but our words. We request info by inquiring. We give info by describing. We establish contact with greetings. We respond to behavior by apologizing or denying. We express fear, happiness, shock. We influence behavior by ordering people around. And we judge by complaining or praising. You are literally cycling through this entire list every single day.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into real-world practice, spotting functions in conversation. Imagine this quick exchange. Saba says, "I think Junai Jamshed is an awful singer." And Naila replies, "Do you? I think he's marvelous." So ask yourself, what is Naila's actual intent here? Is she just disagreeing? Is she criticizing?
Now, what's really interesting about this example is that the function isn't merely disagreement. The function is admiration. Because Naila uses the specific phrase, "I think he's marvelous," she is actively expressing her admiration for the singer. If she were just criticizing Saba's taste, she wouldn't have used those specific words of praise.
Let's try another one. Picture this high-energy, kinda chaotic scene. Jane yells out, "Mind the vase," and Hina replies, "Too late." Such a beautiful vase. You can practically hear the glass shattering in the middle of that dialogue, right?
So what's the underlying function of Hina saying, "such a beautiful vase"? She isn't expressing fear, and she definitely isn't expressing sympathy. She is expressing pure dismay. Complete dismay at the loss of a beautiful object. The context clues, like her saying "too late," give us the exact emotional function.
Okay, here's a much higher stakes conversation. Sayera announces a major life decision. "I'm leaving college. I'm thinking of taking up a job." Bina responds, "I wouldn't do that if I were you."
The function here is discouragement. And notice how clever this is. Biana doesn't actually use the word discourage. She doesn't say, "I discourage you from doing this." Instead, she uses a very specific conditional form, "I wouldn't do that if I were you," to seamlessly perform the social function of discouraging her friend.
Which brings us to our last step, Section 6,
preparing for the final.
We've decoded the theory, we've practiced the application, and now it's time to shift our focus to the culmination of your comprehensive English course. I want you to burn this number into your brain, 40%. This final exam represents 40% of your total assessment for the course. It's huge. It's going to cover everything we've discussed. But listen, if you encounter any surprises, don't panic. Just depend on your common sense and all the background knowledge you've built up today.
Here is your essential checklist for revision. Make sure you brush up on reading comprehension and vocabulary. You'll definitely need to locate main ideas, supporting ideas, and topic sentences within paragraphs. Make absolutely sure you understand the different organization patterns of essays, as well as the specific functions, there's that word again, of an introduction, body, and conclusion. And finally, review your continuity and transition devices that signal connections between sentences. This checklist right here, that's your blueprint for success.
So the crucial point is this. Language is so much more than just grammar. It is the strategic pairing of form and function to navigate the human experience. As you head into your exam, and honestly, more importantly, out into the real world, the big question is, will you be able to recognize these hidden layers of language in your very next conversation? Keep analyzing, keep studying hard, and best of luck out there.